I love this music, right? Every morning. Well, that's going to do it for us here on this edition of Good Day Chicago.
Have a great day. Chicago Now starts right now.
Well, actually, 5 seconds.
Okay. Hey there. Welcome to the 10 o'clock hour of Chicago Now. Thank you so much for joining us on this Friday Eve.
I know, we'll take it, right? We were just saying that, you know, Halloween's coming up and it's on a Friday this year, so that's a little fun. But yeah, this is pretty cool. We're getting to the end of the week.
You have 2 new faces here. I'm usually on at 11. Gabrielle
Sure.
Primus, Jake Hamilton here.
I just popped
We're
in.
filling in for Anthony and Caitlin this morning, so if you're expecting them, sorry. We know they're really cute. But
It's true.
We're kind of cute.
Yeah, I would say you
sometimes.
well, it is funny. I will say that, you know, so oftentimes I get messages of people saying, "Oh, did you guys dress to match?" And we absolutely
No, we
did
didn't,
not
people.
today.
We're just on the same
It's just
vibration.
and it's the second time it's happened this week, as you and I did a show earlier this week, and we're both wearing green or something.
Are you sure you're not like rummaging through my bag to make sure?
I promise you. Listen. Whenever I wake up in the morning, I give absolutely no thought into what goes into all of this. Sometimes, as you can tell, usually it's just right out the bed. Just waking up, haven't even had my coffee, and it's whatever is the first suit that I grab off the rack.
I feel like right now, especially, I'm just trying to keep warm. Like,
Sure.
I'm just trying to find things that are going to keep me warm. And I have yet to switch out some of my summer stuff for my winter stuff, which sounds really crazy and like I have too many clothes, but really I just try to make space.
Well, I think
in my
everyone
closet.
in Chicago can.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah, because coats are just so big. But I really need to do that because I'm getting cold in the morning.
With you in particular, I feel like it can be tough because you come in and sometimes you're sent out live, so you have to dress for those elements, and then you're rushed back in studio, and so you've got to be wearing something that's appropriate for the show.
Yeah, well, usually I just bring extra clothes, but regardless, like, you know, even like the time outside going in.
I know, but Ponce like changes before he does
But he has
show,
like a cool dude outfit.
He does do like a cool, like he changes into like cool Ponce clothes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we should do a segment on that. Like, what's
crazy.
the difference between Chicago Now, Anthony Ponce, and Good Day Chicago, Anthony
So many
Ponce?
things.
So
many things. But a great
many
guy
things.
across the board.
Speaking of so many things.
We have a lot going on today.
Boom, you like that transition?
You know, and I say that every single show, I feel like.
Well, because we have a great team behind
Two kind of serious topics, right? Coming up, also, we're going to be talking to TMZ pretty soon, but teaching kids to spiral up instead of spiraling down, so maybe making sure they can manage their emotions, think with a positive attitude. Also, as you said, Halloween is coming up, so we're thinking about ways to make Halloween more inclusive for kids with special needs.
Yeah, I think that's going to be something that, you know, maybe people don't take into consideration this time of year, and you know, listen, something like Halloween should be an all-inclusive, fun for everybody kind of thing, and it's important to think of everybody when sort of putting together different activities.
Totally is. We were talking how Halloween is on a Friday this year, so there's no excuse for you not to find a great Halloween costume and go out on the town.
I always feel a little pressure anytime, you know, Halloween's on a Friday or your birthday's on a Friday or a Saturday, because it's like, well, you don't want to waste it because it's not going to be that way for another 7 years, or if there's a leap year, eight years. So it's like, well, I want to like make the most of it. So do you have plans?
No, I don't yet, of course, because why would I a week out? Right? Like almost a week out.
Almost a week out.
Exactly. No, and I'm still trying to think of a costume. I think I have one nailed down. Should I give it up?
Well, yeah, tell me.
I was thinking about doing Resurrection Mary, me going as Resurrection Mary. So, you know, the ghost that's in the southwest suburbs. And then I'm going to have Brendan, my husband, be the Archer Avenue driver.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I think I'm going to make him, no one steal this, please.
I was going to say, are you going to make the costumes?
I think I might, well, like.
Are you that kind of person? Can you
Mary,
do that?
I might just like wear one of like my thrifted gowns, or not gowns, but dresses that I have that's white, and then put on some like ghostly makeup. And then for Brendan, I might, are you writing this down?
Resurrection.
Exactly.
Mary.
I told him not to copy it. And then for Brendan, I'm going to have like an Uber sign that says picking up
that's fun.
Resurrection Mary. He doesn't know this yet, so maybe he's watching and
he's
just
about
finding
to.
out.
Listen, I've met your husband. He is the most go with the flow guy. Like, I'm sure basically you would tell him like, hey, put this on. He'd be like, sure, okay, fine.
Sometimes, maybe.
Okay, fair enough.
Do you have any costumes?
I mean, I have costumes in years past. This year, I'm actually going to be, I'm off a couple of days next week. We're going to New York, and so we're doing, ironically enough, we're spending Halloween with a couple of witches because we're going to see Wicked on Broadway.
How
So I kind of thought that'd be a fun.
Wicked on Halloween.
She's never been to New York. She's never seen a Broadway show before.
Oh, that's gonna be
and
so
she loved the
special.
first movie, but hasn't seen obviously the second one because it's not out yet. Doesn't know how it ends. So I kind of had to ask, like, are you willing to have it ruined for you by going to see, you know? But I kind of thought that's such a fun Halloween, even though it's not scary, but it's witches and So that's, and one of the many reasons I'm thankful. I don't know if you saw that we had breaking entertainment news that Broadway was able to avoid a strike
I saw that,
this
and you're
morning.
probably worried.
Yeah, because that was one of the shows that was on the list that would have been affected.
Boy.
So selfishly, obviously I'm very happy for the musicians that get all the money that they earn because they're incredibly talented. But more importantly, it's about me and the show that we have tickets to can go on.
You and your lady, New York City, Halloween.
Yeah,
what
it should
a
be fun.
time. That's gonna be exciting.
Yep.
Really happy for you.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, we're gonna be talking to TMZ about 2 different things. Are they available yet, guys? Let's see, from our peanut gallery.
They're all.
Okay, give
Here's
them
the
a
deal.
couple more minutes.
Here's sort of the fun. So oftentimes whenever we talk with TMZ, we talk with friend of the show, I think it's fair to say, Michael Babcock. And what I love about Michael Babcock is, one, he has the patience of a saint. Because the amount of times that I know oftentimes you don't always fill in on this show, but a lot of times it's myself and Anthony and Caitlin, and we will go off on the most stupid tangents imaginable, and then I am reminded that poor Michael has to wait in the wings and listen to us while we're basically just rambling about the most ridiculous nonsense. Is he listening to us yet? Yeah, there he is. See, I told you, always listening.
I always tell you, good morning, guys. I always tell you, I love it. I'm just sitting back. I got my coffee over here, and I'm just hanging out with you.
Have you decided what you're doing for Halloween yet?
No, I haven't. I don't know how, but it snuck up on me here, and I've got to get with it real quick. Do you have any ideas for me?
No, I don't. But it's funny because I think we all say that, and it's the same day every year.
Right. And
has anyone at TMZ really ever dressed up as Harvey?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Has anyone at TMZ ever dressed up as Harvey? Just walked around with the.
You know what? That I don't think they have, but maybe I should.
And just see how long it takes him to figure it out.
I don't have the muscles like he's got.
Not with that attitude, Michael.
There's always little cushions you can put in. They have that at the costume store.
I can't go to the gym at like 4 a.m. like he does.
Is that what he does?
He's crazy.
My God.
He is in super shape.
He goes swimming, and then he goes to Gold's Gym and works out with like Arnold Schwarzenegger in the morning. I'm not kidding. Yeah.
As one does.
As one does.
What a life.
I'm not from Hollywood. It's weird out here. I'm from New Jersey.
Sure.
So I'm a regular guy. And it's just weird out here. You walk around, you see these big celebrities. It's a strange scene. It really is.
Also, to be fair, if I'm going to the gym and I'm trying to better myself, I don't think I want to work out next to the Terminator. That's not
right?
That can't be the bar. I don't want Arnold to see me cut my sets off early. We have a lot to get
I've got
to.
like 5 pounds on the
exactly. Listen, man, I got to be honest with you. I had not heard this story until I saw that it was going to be one that we were talking about this morning. Diddy, obviously just starting out his time, well, not just starting out, but starting out his official sentence since being sentenced not too long ago. And I think suffice to say, it's not going well so far.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, he's got 4 years and change that he's going to ultimately have to serve, although he has served already a year as he awaited his trial and then went through his trial. So ultimately probably he was going to serve about 2.5 years or so, but it's still serious time that he's going to have to serve. And he has already, at least if you listen to people close to Diddy, been the victim of violence behind bars. So there was an incident that we first learned about 2 weeks ago during Diddy's sentencing hearing, and he said, I was sleeping in my bed in the prison. It's a federal detention facility in Brooklyn called MDC Brooklyn, and there are federal inmates who are in many cases waiting for their trial as well. And Diddy claimed that somebody held a knife to his throat. He woke up and this guy basically had him, and he had the knife, and Diddy was at this person's mercy. Now, it's unclear what exactly happened from there. Was there a guard that came in? Did Diddy somehow fight this person off? Well, it seems unlikely that happened. Or did the person just leave? Bottom line, this guy, at least according to people close to Diddy and Diddy himself, could have hurt him badly or even taken his life. And I think that was something they wanted known during the hearing because they wanted the judge to take some pity on Diddy. It probably didn't help ultimately because he does get the 4+ year sentence. But again, this just is something that is the reality of life for Diddy right now. It's a guy who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars who is now living in a prison cell and will be at least, again, for the next 2.5 years or so.
So, Michael, obviously it was kind of like an intimidation tactic, right? It didn't seem like they were actually trying to hurt them.
One of Diddy's friends, and that's why the story is kind of has gotten a little bit more attention now today, because one of Diddy's friends has come out and spoken about it as well. And according to the friend, it sounds like the guy said something to the effect of, "I could hurt you at any time," in a little bit of more threatening language, but said something along, in that vein. And it does seem like it was an intimidation tactic. And it sounds like the guy could have obviously, again, hurt Diddy very badly, but chose not to for whatever reason. But saying, "I can get to you if I want to." And I mean, you've got to imagine that's an incredibly disconcerting feeling then for Diddy to not feel safe behind bars where he's got nobody there, he's by himself, and to know that somebody could get you at any moment has got to be really scary.
Michael, how is the prison responding moving forward? Because I think it's fair to say that there's a good chance if Diddy's just out there, in gin pop, that he's going to be a target for the next couple of years just because everyone there knows who he is. But what is that balance of, like, you don't want to be in solitary confinement for the next 3 years? So what is that sweet spot?
Right. I think that's a great question. And I don't think we have the answer to it yet, because he is going to be transferred from this MDC Brooklyn facility likely to a federal prison that's more of a long-term facility. It's likely going to be a place in New Jersey. He wants to be close to his family, and there is a place there that fits a lot of the things that he's looking for. He has asked for a drug and alcohol treatment program, so he wants to go to a prison that has a program that he can take and hopefully better himself so he doesn't have issues when he does finally get out. So he is looking for a place like that. So he will go somewhere else. But I think that's a great point. You don't want to just sit in solitary confinement for 3 years and not have any contact with anybody. That in itself is horrible. So how do you have the right level of interaction with other inmates to where he's safe, but he's not at risk? And I think that's going to be a hard balance to strike because he is so famous. Obviously, he's not the first famous inmate. Matter of fact, he's not the only famous inmate in that place where he is right now. Luigi Mangione is in that facility with Diddy as we sit here and talk now. So they've got experience with high-profile inmates, but I think it's a hard balance to strike is probably the answer.
One of the things I wanted to ask before we moved on, it's been a lot of back and forth as to will he, won't he, but any updates on whether or not President Trump is actually going to or not going to pardon him?
Yeah, no clue. There are obviously people who are, familiar with at least Diddy's thinking here and conversations that they say have taken place, and they feel like there is a real opportunity, a real chance that Donald Trump could pardon or commute Diddy's sentence. And obviously, with a swipe of the pen like that, Diddy could walk out then. And I suppose that would clear up a lot of his problems. But obviously, up until now, the White House has said, no, that's not true. The president is not going to take any action on Diddy. We will see. I think we obviously all know Donald Trump at this point, and I think if he wants to do something, he's going to do it, and if he doesn't, he's not. And I think we just have to wait and see what he ultimately chooses here.
Interesting. We'll follow that closely. Okay. Up next, Kim K. Apparently, she said she suffered an aneurysm, and she's blaming her ex.
Yeah, she's blaming Kanye West. This is going to be on tonight's premiere of The Kardashians. Obviously, now the show is on Hulu, and they've got a new season premiering. And in a piece of the new episode that we've seen, Kim goes to the doctor, and they find what they've called a little aneurysm, was how it was put. And, obviously I'm not a doctor, but a bulge in the blood vessel that, if it were to pop, could really cause serious issues. Now, it's unclear exactly how it was treated, but obviously Kim is okay, thankfully. But she says on the episode that the doctors told her that this is something that can be caused by stress, and that was when she was going through a lot of the drama with Kanye, where Kanye was saying these really out there, anti-Semitic in many cases comments. And she has 4 kids with Kanye West, so they're always going to be in each other's life. And obviously it's taken a real toll on her, and I think that's undeniable. For all the advantages that she has and all the money and the fame, this has obviously been an incredible stressor on her life, and it's not one that's going to go away because, again, 4 children that are still, still kids, and they're going to be linked together, bottom line.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to drive home, because there are a lot of people who, if they don't get along with their ex, then they can, it's as easy as blocking them on the phone. But,
Right.
There's no escaping everything that Kanye said over the last year or two, and we covered it just about every day, especially here in Chicago with him being a Chicago native. But it's a different level whenever you have to, I'm assuming, have to maintain communication with him, whether she wants to or not, just because of the share children. Do you know, is there any inclination as to how much they actually, is it just bare minimum communication because of the kids? Do you know what kind of relationship they have these days?
But
I think the exact nature of the relationship is not clear, but they're not spending a whole bunch of time together. I think I get the feeling that the communication is minimal, that not to say Kanye's a bad dad. I believe that he loves his kids, but obviously people close to him, including Kim, believes that he has some mental health issues, and that at times there are, for lack of a better terms, there are flare-ups where, if it's not taking medication or whatever the impetus might be, that he does have these outbursts. And those are the times where it's really hard for Kim. And I think it's a good point. One, it's if you have children with anybody, obviously you're going to have a connection. But two, to your point, he is so famous. Even if she didn't have the kids with Kanye, it's impossible to not hear about some of the things he says, especially when he's talking about you. In many cases, he talks about Kim a lot publicly, and I think that's what, from what we've been told at least, has been really hard on her. She's a very open person, one of the most open people, but some of the things that he's said have been very private or overly private, personal accounts that she doesn't want out there. And I think it's fair to say that they're not in a great place right now, and I don't know that they ever will be.
Well, hasn't she said before, though, Michael, that she might have suffered from Stockholm Syndrome? I think that's actually a teaser that she had for season 7.
Right. I saw that as well, where it sounds like they're also going to get into that on the show. I'm sure, as far as regrets go, you want to talk about loving her kids. I mean, Kim Kardashian obviously loves her children as well, but just everything that's happened in the wake of the divorce from Kanye West, I think it's really taken a toll on their family. And again, they've got a lot of great things, so I'm not saying everyone should feel sorry for them, but in this, when you're taking this issue by itself, I think you've got to feel for her a little bit.
Oh, and Michael, you mentioned her being obviously a very open person. We keep referencing like, oh, this was mentioned in the promo for their show that they have coming up, and they're surrounded by cameras at all times. So what is that balance of, like, if this is what she's telling us, does it stand to reason that there's a lot more going on that they're not putting in front of the cameras, or basically is this all of it?
Yeah, no, I think it absolutely stands to reason that we are only seeing the smallest bit and the piece that they want us to see. It goes to show how really, for as open as they are, how close and how much control they have over their circle. Because look, the Kanye West stuff, that was months ago, if not more. And Kim had this medical issue months ago, if not longer, and nobody heard about it. And the only reason we're hearing about it now is because they want us to. And there are some celebrities who are really good at these things. Taylor Swift's another one who you will never hear anything about Taylor Swift that she doesn't want out there. And I think in many ways, the Kardashians and the Jenners, they are very good at that as well. They've got a good control over people close to them. They don't have a huge circle, and because of that, we don't learn things that they don't want us to know as a public, and you hear what they want us to hear. So, Kim has absolutely made a decision to share this medical diagnosis, and if she didn't want it out there, then it wouldn't be part of the show. That's just the bottom line.
Well, I think it's funny because I feel like I know some more about the Jenner Kardashian family than I know about some of my own friends, which is funny. And I'm not even paying attention that much. Michael, before we let you go, what else can people expect with TMZ coming up?
Well, there's this an absolutely massive case right now. The FBI just announced arrest of Chauncey Billups, an NBA Hall of Famer, a head coach. in a gambling an NBA game rigging case that I mean it's massive for the NBA, and it's one of the biggest cases like this that we've ever seen. That they've got Cash Patel just got off the away from the podium there announcing these charges, and I think this is going to rock professional sports. So that's a big thing happening today. That's just explosive.
Wow, I feel like that's going to be one of those sort of snowball things where it kind of gets the conversation of going, because it's sort of like, okay, well, if it happened here, where else, when else, what other sports? I mean, I have a
the
feeling
NBA, they've embraced the gambling, you know? You see lines now on games, things you never thought you'd see because the money's good, but this is the other side of it, and you know, gambling's here now, and this is bad for the NBA. This is a bad day 3 days into the season for them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We just had tip off, and they're right now they're all shaking their heads right now. Michael Babcock, we love you, my man. We always appreciate this every Thursday. So you're a saint and a patient man, and we appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you guys having me so much. Great to talk to you, and I'll see you next week.
Next week, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Under control today.
What's that?
We kept it under control.
We did, yeah, we did. He didn't have to. He didn't have to listen to us ramble for too much. But you know, but when you get myself and Caitlin Cody and Anthony Ponce
you guys are so
on this little, don't cut to that kid. It's not just all me. It's them too. It's not. It's other people.
And zoom in.
Yeah. But yeah, he always sits there very patiently and listens to us. So we got a lot of great stuff.
I love talking to Michael, but I also love listening to you guys talk to TMZ because I learn so much. Yes, I try to keep up with some things that are happening with celebrities, but it's hard to. And it's hard to get all of the background information, and it's nice to get it in just one point.
Well, I mean, I learn a lot too, because people ask me a lot about, you know, what I do for the show compared to TMZ, and I say, well, you know, I cover more from the work angle.
Yeah.
You know, whenever I talk with these people, you know, I don't want to say that I don't care about their personal lives, because clearly we do. But you know, oftentimes whenever I talk with someone, in the same way that I don't want them asking me about my stuff, like, let's, you know, we try to just keep it about the work. So I feel like this is a nice little chance for me to ask all the questions that sometimes I wish I could ask.
It's great. Every Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a lot more coming up, including teaching kids to spiral up instead of down. So making sure people know, or they know, the power of positive thinking, of changing
I feel like we could all
the
learn
way
from
the day is going. Exactly. We have a lot to learn. We'll have more right when we come back. Welcome back to Chicago Now. Jake, I like how you said before we took this break that everyone's going to need to hear this.
Yeah.
Because we get in our own head, we have this inner monologue that says, I messed up, I can't do this, but we can. And that's the point of our next guest. Dr. Erica Rosmead, a clinical psychologist, is helping parents with how to show their kids how to spiral up, which I think is a great little term to use. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I guess our first question is, what does that mean to spiral up? What's your definition?
So spiraling up is the complete opposite of spiraling down. So spiraling down is when something doesn't go your way and you have thoughts like, I can't do this. And it then generalizes into a cycle of constant negativity. Spiraling up is the intentional practice of focusing on things that might be going better for you, thinking, I am resilient, I can do better next time. And when you believe the thoughts that are maybe a more positive and more focused on gratitude, then it can have this positive effect where then you can feel better and then you actually are more motivated and then it impacts your behavior. So it is really focusing on the way that you think and feel and act in a way that's going to help kids be more resilient.
You know, Doctor, I made a joke / not really a joke earlier about how I think we could all benefit from this, but I want to talk about the benefit to kids specifically, because I'd imagine, you know, with kids, it's like, you know, you're molding clay and you want to get everything you want out of that sort of statue or that whatever, to keep the metaphor going, before it hardens, right? And so you want to teach and you want to instill all of these lessons. So can you talk about the importance of, yes, I'm sure this is a lesson that we can all learn from, but really there's a value when it comes to kids who are still trying to figure themselves out?
Yeah, well, a lot of kids, their brains aren't fully developed until they're about 25 years old. And we know that in their brain, the amygdala, which is responsible for emotions like fear and anxiety, are right next to their hippocampus, which is responsible for memory. So kids are, their default sometimes can be this negativity bias because their brains aren't fully developed and the amygdala hippocampus is making them remember and focus in on more negatively emotionally charged events. And so it can really impact a lot of kids. I see so many youth with mental health distress because they are spiraling down and that is their default. And we want to help kids be resilient and learn tools so that they can feel confident that bad events can happen to them and they can still be resilient and feel happy.
You know, Doctor, I was watching a clip from Super Nanny. Do you remember that show where it's just really bad kids the other day? And I sent it to Brendan, my husband, and I said, man, this is scary. This kid was going crazy and nothing could calm this kid down. And I'm like, what do you even do in that situation? So this is probably, you know, that may be more extreme, but this kind of relates. What do you want them to say? Is there a certain mantra that will help them spiral up instead of spiral down?
Yeah, so one thing we like to look at is for kids sometimes to even intentionally look at what do they like to do? What are they passionate about? And let's say for them, even doing well in school is something that feels good for them. And so we break it down into smaller goals. If the bigger goal feels too overwhelming, that might trigger this downward spiral, then we really focus on what are small goals that they can work towards that we know that they can accomplish. And that's just a buffer to help them feel good about themselves. And gratitude for adults and children are just a really great way. The research shows that if you do a gratitude practice every day for 3 months, it actually does improve someone's happiness and ability to be more present focused. And so that is something that even parents can do with their child at the dinner or breakfast table every day.
What does that mean?
Nothing more true. Well, I not to interrupt you, Doctor, but if I'm in a bad mood, sometimes I will say 3 things I'm thankful for. Really simple things. Jake, it will completely flip my day.
Sure.
Like, it'll make me just feel so much better. So is that something, like, should they write it down?
Yes, write it down. I even had the thought earlier, you know, you can get a whiteboard, those little ones that you can put around the table, and it can even be a fun exercise where everyone writes down their 3 things, or it could even be when you're walking your kid out the door. If you don't have enough time, it can be a verbal exchange, but simply focusing on what you're feeling grateful for can help with this intentional brain hack, so to speak, to really have kids be resilient and spiral upward.
You know, I've often spoken, I'm 37, and I've often talked about being grateful that I wasn't a kid in the age of social media. And I know when we talk about spiraling, I'm sure there are a lot of different reasons a kid might be spiraling down. How much is social media in school, in hallways, a factor of that? And how much can parents adjusting their access to social media maybe help them start spiraling up?
It is so hard for kids these days, and spiraling down with social media is rampant. I mean, that's just so common for youth naturally to compare themselves against others, and usually they're more negative comparisons. So I do like positive comparisons. Positive comparisons are things that can make kids feel better. And for them, it could even focus on what do you have going on in your life that's going well for you right now? And for them to focus on what do they benefit, how do they benefit from their friendships and relationships on social media. And of course, having limits around social media is the most helpful because, again, kids' brains are not fully developed. They don't really know what limits they need. And that's really for a parent to decide what limits their child needs. But we can use comparisons to their advantage by doing more positive comparisons than the negative ones.
What about parents' language? Because I can, imagine that they also get frustrated seeing their kid day after day, seem like spiraling down. But how can they stop themselves from getting too angry? How can they switch their language to better help their kid move the other way?
Well, in order to help change a child's behaviors, I always tell parents a child needs to learn a new behavior and it needs to be modeled. And parents really like to teach. They like to teach their child what to do. But really, the child probably knows what to do if you teach it to them 1 or 2 times. The most powerful thing that parents can do is to model it themselves. And that could be modeling spiraling upward. And that would be saying out loud, hey, these are all of the things that didn't go so well for me today. And it made me feel sad. And it made me think for a moment, I can't do this. But I'm actually going to now focus on what did go well in my day. And I'm going to focus on what I'm grateful for. So if parents can model this and be consistent and do this every single day, it becomes a norm in the house. And social norms in the household will help children get their buy-in and help teens get their buy-in to do it themselves.
And again, we're emphasizing the importance of these steps to help kids in your life. But I'd imagine, we all have those spiraling moments in our lives, even being adults. I'm assuming it's probably safe to say that a lot of these skills, these tips, these tricks they can transfer to adults as well, if to help your spouse, to help someone in your family, to help yourself. I'd imagine a lot of the skills work just as well for us, whether we're 37 or 7.
For sure. I use all of the skills I teach, and it makes me a much more resilient human being. So all of the skills are pretty much the same. The way that I package them and talk about them to kids are slightly different. For kids, a lot of times it's more play-based, but the skills are the same. I call these life skills that I wish everyone in the world had. And the best thing that adults can do and parents can do is to use it themselves, practice it, and teach a friend. The more that everyone in the world has these skills, I really believe will be a happier society.
Thank you, Doctor. Okay, if people want to learn more about you, or I don't know if you are active on social media, where can they follow you, or where can they potentially visit you?
I am probably the most inactive active person on social media. You can find me at ClarityCBT on Instagram, although I do have a great post around emotionally dysregulated kids. So you can look for us there. If there's anything you want to learn more about, you can message us and we will post some content.
Awesome. Thank you. Dr. Erica Rosmead, a clinical psychologist. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Coming up, we've got more on kids, which I think, a lot of parents watching right now. We're going to talk about how you can make Halloween more inclusive for kids with special needs. We'll explain what that means coming up after the break. We'll be right back.
Halloween. It's next Friday.
We were just talking about a little over a week away. You know, I live in a high rise, and I always lament this time of year that I don't get the knocks on the door. I don't get, because I've always wanted to like hand out candy, and I always want to do like a haunted house kind of thing. That's mainly the only reason I would consider buying a house, is just so I could do stuff like that.
It's funny because I was just talking to my friend. I'm like, oh, what are you guys doing for Halloween? Like, come over and we could all hang out. And she's like, well, we just moved to the suburbs and we have a house, and I'm actually really looking forward to the
it's going to be great. I don't know, especially again, it's on a Friday. It could be a lot of fun. But listen, there is a chance that if you have one of those doorbells that's going to be rung, or a door that's going to be knocked on, that you're going to have a lot of kids. They're going to be wanting some candy, and some of those kids, it stands to reason, might have special needs, and we need to be thinking about everybody this Halloween. So we're going to be talking with our next guest, Dr. Larissa Pavone, with Pediatric Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation at Northwestern Medicine. Doctor, thank you. We're so excited to talk with you about this.
Thanks for having me today. I'm so excited to talk about it.
Of course. So for people who are lucky enough to be getting trick-or-treaters this year, obviously, you know, we've been saying we need to be thinking about everybody. So what is step number one to make sure that everything is inclusive for all the kids this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing to consider when we're talking about making your Halloween more adaptive is, you guys were talking about the suburbs and people coming up on this, you know, to ring the doorbell, is what your doorway looks like. A lot of people have steps in front of their door, and so one simple thing that you could do is just bring a table or something outside and sit at the bottom of your steps. Because if you have a child who has mobility impairments, using a wheelchair, has some weakness, it might be challenging for them to get to the doorbell. So by simply bringing that station down off the stairs is a really easy way you can make it a little bit more adaptive.
You know, what if they're not only in a wheelchair? Actually, I grew up with a neighbor, who was wheelchair bound and, couldn't eat candy. She was feeding out of a tube, and our neighborhood actually came up with some different ways to make it still really exciting on Halloween for her, although she wasn't getting candy. Have you heard of any special ideas, things that you could do to make it, again, special for them?
Absolutely. I think a great thing for people to consider is not everyone can eat candy. So having some food items available for the children who are coming to trick or treat, I think, is a really great idea. You know, now there are all those fidgets, the Pop-Its, the squishies that are really fun to hand out. And they have them all in different types of Halloween shapes and sizes. And then also to consider too, maybe a child might not have use of their hands. So the light up necklaces, the stickers are some really fun ideas. So I always think it's great to have the option of candy and a non-candy item.
That's super smart. No one wants to purposefully be the house that wasn't inclusive to someone, but sometimes people just maybe don't think, oh, I should have done this or I should have done that. Is there anything? Not that we want to put any more responsibility on parents, but like if you're the parents of a child with special needs, to maybe let a couple of houses know, hey, heads up, we're going to be coming over on Halloween. Is there anything that maybe the parents could do just to sort of give maybe some houses in the neighborhood a heads up that, like, hey, it would help us out if you could do X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, I think, exactly what you're talking about is disability awareness and inclusiveness. Having an awareness of who your neighbors are and, creating relationships. That's a great way to make Halloween successful for everybody.
We often hear about, kids with autism having a hearing sensitivity or, not liking those loud noises. Sometimes Halloween can be loud. You might have that jokester who's trying to pop out at you. What's your advice for parents, for people at home, to kind of keep out for or keep a watch for on Halloween night when people are trick-or-treating?
Yeah, that's a great subject to bring up, is kind of the sensitivity and sensory sensitivity. And, children of all, backgrounds might have a noise sensitivity. So I think, or a light sensitivity, keeping the environment, a little bit quieter. I know it's really fun to have everything pop out on Halloween, but maybe turning those off when the kids are going to be coming around. It could be scary for them. Also with like flashing lights and things like that. I think keep in mind, it could be really fun, but it can also be calm, and thinking how you could create a calm, fun environment.
Well, to that point, we keep talking, kids. You know, we're talking about trick-or-treating. We're talking about kids walking around a neighborhood. And like I said, I've talked a lot about how much I love Halloween and how much I love scary stuff. But I feel like on something like this, particularly if you live out in the suburbs, it's important to remember it's for kids. It's it's not about getting the chance to scare everyone in the neighborhood. It's not about I'm almost a 40-year-old man. Like it's not about us, right? At the end of the day, I think no matter who the kid is, it's important to remember it's for kids, right?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. It is for kids, and it's supposed to be fun. It doesn't always have to be scary, and I think that's something important to keep in mind to be inclusive for everyone.
Do you find that, in the past when these conversations weren't brought up as much, that parents be hesitant to even take their kids out? And is that hopefully changing now that there's more of an open conversation?
Yeah, I think the more awareness that we have, schools have been better about having inclusive environments, children mixed and blended into the classroom. And I think that more that we are involved and engaged with the children of all different abilities, the more inclusive everything is, and it makes it fun for everybody.
Well, to that point, because, I feel like even whenever I was a kid and we were trick-or-treating, we weren't really having these sorts of conversations. It wasn't something that we were particularly hyper aware of. And people often, I feel like, use the excuse of like, well, this wasn't a thing whenever I was a kid. And it's like, okay, well, that sucks, but it is now. And that's a good thing. It's a positive thing that we're having these conversations. I'm sorry that it wasn't a thing when you were around when you were a kid, but things change and it is now.
Yeah, I think it's so important for us to grow and evolve. Keep our eyes really open, pay attention to your neighbors. Reach out to someone if you notice maybe they're not taking their child out. Ask them. I think you made the point a little bit earlier about the parent themselves talking to the neighbor. That's a great way. And I also think, encouraging your children to talk to the other kids in the neighborhood who may look a little bit different is a great way to make it fun and a great holiday for everybody.
That same family that I referred to, I often think about them when it comes to like trunk or treats, because it's all in the parking lot and, it's a controlled environment. We know it's going to be one flat surface. That would have been so great even,
absolutely.
25 years ago when I was a kid to have that for them. Is that a great space? Maybe if you are still hesitant after this conversation to take your kid around the neighborhood, maybe seek out one of those events?
Absolutely. That's a great idea. Trunk or treats are usually on a flat surface, usually close together, easy to get around. So if it's a cold night, you can hit up a lot of cars, get a lot of fun treats in a short amount of time. We at Marion Joy do a trunk or treat. Sometimes weather may play a role in interfering, but to the best of our abilities, we have a trunk or treat every year that's all inclusive, and we include all of the things that we talked about today.
We've talked a lot in this segment about communication, and we've talked a little bit about social media on the show so far today, but social media I feel like can be a really great tool, because I know a lot of neighborhoods have community groups. There are a lot of schools that are posting about things that maybe they're having in the gymnasium. So I'd imagine social media could actually be playing a very beneficial role here, just to kind of look out and see, okay, maybe if your neighborhood's not going to be the best environment for your kid, I'm sure there's going to be something else around there where that actually might work out better.
Yeah, there's so many fun things in the neighborhoods and in the towns and in the suburbs and even in the city, that are great events for all kids. And I think seeking those out, there's communities out there that will post about these different events, and that's a great way to find fun activities for the kids.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us. We really appreciate your time. For people watching at home, can they find more information? Maybe there's a website with some tips and tricks, or can they follow you anywhere, maybe on social media?
Yeah, so I'm part of Marion Joy Rehabilitation Hospital, and that's where I practice out of, and we do have a website that with information about us there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on a very important topic.
We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, switching gears a little bit.
Yeah, coming up, this is a very interesting topic that we got an email about from our segment producer, Adina, yesterday. This is one of those scenarios where, listen, I cover entertainment for a living, but there are still some moments where I have to go, who is this? What is this TikTok thing that's happening?
This drama.
It is a singer named Somber, right?
Yeah.
With a little TikTok drama about a concert that he had recently, and it's got a lot of people talking about it. Ever since I looked up, now it's all in my algorithm. We'll explain more when we come back.
Welcome back to Chicago Now. Okay, have you ever heard of Somber?
I have not. Well, I mean, I've been educated a lot within the last 24 hours because here's the thing. Even as someone who covers entertainment for a living, you will think that you have a really, really solid grasp on who you need to know in the world of pop culture, and then it's almost like TV shows, right? Just when you think you've seen everything, there's this new thing that you haven't seen. Yeah. And no, Somber was not on my radar until yesterday.
Okay, well, let's talk about it.
Yeah. So apparently there is this singer, Shane Michael Boos, a 20-year-old singer known as Somber. Apparently he's got a couple of singles that have gone viral, and a fan of his went to his concert in D.C. recently and wasn't particularly happy about some of the things that she saw at the concert, and she posted a TikTok review of it, and we have a little clip of that.
Well, and I want to make it clear that her name is Meg, and she's 25 years old, and that's pretty important because Somber is 20, and so, you know, a little bit of an age gap there. So, yeah, like you said, she gave kind of a scathing review on Somber's concert in D.C., and it completely blew up. The video now has 7 million views, probably plus by now. And yeah, let's show a clip of it.
7 joke. I'm not even kidding you. And all the tweens. I've never had such immediate buyer's remorse in my life. Like, I knew I was just in for 3 hours of nightmare fuel. Again, though, hopefully little old me was like, you know what, this sucks, but at least I'll hear my favorite music live, right? Like, this is gonna be so fun. I left early. I didn't even hear my favorite music. He proceeds to make a bunch of niche meme references for like the 12 to 16-year-old age range group. And I only understand them because I'm chronically online, but every other adult in the room, including my boyfriend, is like, why is he speaking in tongue? Like, what is he saying right now? Just ridiculous to hear out loud. Like, it was like brain rot on stage.
So that's Meg, a fan of Somber, who Meg is 25 years old. It's, you know, we're emphasizing that. Yeah, she is complaining that she went to Somber's concert, and it was just a lot of kids. It was a lot of people. She kind of felt like she wasn't really in the appropriate age range there, and that he was also, it kind of sounds like he was playing to sort of the younger audience, and it made her sort of look around and go, well, what the heck is going on? This is not like, I don't fit in with this crowd. Well, it went viral.
Yeah, obviously with that many views, you're going to get a response probably from the singer, and so here's some of that, what he says.
Because a 25-year-old attended my concert and was basically complaining that there were too many tweens there, I was making too many brain rot jokes, and she just thought it was a cringe concert. And also she was body shaming me, and it's kind of started a massive body shaming hate train directed towards me on a lot of videos of me on the internet right now, which is, I totally respect people having opinions, but I am a 20-year-old artist, freshly 20. And if you're 25 years old and you're going to come to my concert and not expect people younger than you to be there when I, the artist, am 5 years younger than you, it's just a skill issue. I mean, also, like, the jokes thing, like, you had to have known about my online presence before coming to my concert. I mean, anyone who knows me knows I've never uttered a serious word in my life. And also, I make jokes for 5 minutes of the concert, and the rest is music. Like, live a little, enjoy life.
All right, so he's firing back and saying, listen, I'm younger than you anyway, so it stands to reason that there would be people at the show younger than me, so you don't really have a reason. And he also called her out for some of the other things that she brought up in the video.
And if you're a fan, he also said, and if you're a fan, then you obviously been following me on social media where I'm very active. Yeah. You should have kind of got a hit from there to know what my concert was going to be like.
It's a lot of talking points, I think, for sure, because I think we've all been, maybe not in this specific instance, but we've all been to concerts where we thought, this is not what I signed up for. This is not the ticket that I bought. We want to bring in our favorite music journalist, Selena Fergasi, who I'm sure has a lot to say about this. Selena, first of all, I'm just sort of curious, where do you stand on, because I'm sure you have been to many concerts in your life, many of which probably didn't live up to expectations for whatever reason or another. Where do you stand in this whole controversy?
Oh my gosh, I have found this so interesting because I think it brings up bigger topics that she's just kind of hinting at that I think are some bigger conversations that we all kind of need to have when it comes to concerts. I frankly was kind of shocked though by her video because I did not see his show in Chicago. He was just here October 2nd. But all the reviews have been incredible. So I just kind of was like wondering where this was coming from. And I think it was a little bit one-sided, a little bit, you know, the buyer's remorse angle, and she wanted to vent about it. But I've been there, you know, I cover a lot of music that's not my demographic. K-pop is a great example. But you know, you're there for the moment. You also enjoy kind of people enjoying it, and I think it's like everyone kind of deserves to be there. Like Somber said, everyone's welcome.
And I think that's fair because I mean, I think sometimes people assume, well, if I like this artist, then everyone who's going to be at that concert is going to be just like me, and that's not how concerts work, particularly for a popular artist. You know, I went to Lady Gaga recently at United Center, and it was a wide breadth of people. I mean, there was so many different, and it actually made it better. It was such a great inclusive audience that was there, and I think, you know, so do you fall more in the agreeing with Somber in that, like, listen, like, there's gonna be more people here than just who you represent?
Yeah, you know, and I think these shows, actually, if you look at tickets, they're 16 plus. So if you're buying tickets, you kind of know that that's the audience that's going to be there. Also, he grew up on TikTok. Like, that's where he got famous. So to not expect a TikTok crowd to be there is kind of ludicrous. I mean, I would say I do kind of side with Somber on this. I think a lot of Megan's arguments were a little bit one-sided and a little bit unfair to be putting all this on one artist. But I mean, I do think she brings up some bigger themes that are things probably to address. I think one of them is the fact that it's not maybe the age of the concert goer, but it's concert etiquette. And I see this with any age, at any show I'm going to. People talking, people invading spaces. I think like that's a conversation to be had. But I don't think it's, you know, Somber or his fans' fault.
Sure.
Okay, I'm glad you say that, Selena, because I also kind of favored Somber when I first was reading the USA Today article. And, you know, thinking about her, too, and it blowing up, like, it kind of shows, like, hey, look, you can't just be posting anything. Your words matter. And that shows when it has 7 million views, and now she's, you know, they're both going back and forth with people hating or liking them. She also mentioned how, you know, he was maybe being a little vulgar on stage. Do you find that artists kind of, you know, stay on one path, or do they work the crowd? Do you think that would have been inappropriate if he was doing that?
You know, I think that that's probably her one point that maybe I kind of would agree with, right? Is maybe kind of know your audience, you know it's 16 plus, and I think there maybe is a responsibility there to interact with a minor crowd. But then again, it's like that's another conversation. You have someone like Sabrina Carpenter, her shows are very sexualized, and she gets a lot of flack for that. But at the end of the day, is like she responsible for being, you know, a PG kind of show for her entire fan base. And I'm telling you, at Somber shows, I'm sure there was a lot of older people there as well. His music is played a lot in like Q101, that skews older. So, you know, it's like, as an artist, is that your responsibility? I don't know.
Well, you brought up a word earlier that I kind of want to explore, because I think you're so right, and I think it's bigger than music concerts, which is the word etiquette. Because there is, yes, everyone absolutely has a right to go to a concert and enjoy it the way that they want to enjoy it, but that freedom, I do think, stops when it starts infringing someone else's right. I mean, to that point, I went to the movies not too long ago and was like halfway through the movie and left because I was just like, the people around me were just having open conversations with each other in the middle of the movie, and it's just like, you know, I don't want to tell someone how to enjoy something, but your enjoyment is affecting my ability to be able to do it. And so do you think that this is that's why this has gone so viral and struck a nerve with people, because it is opening up this can of worms about maybe not just this concert, but probably other concerts and other pop culture experiences that other people have had?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you read between the lines of her argument, I mean, a little fraction of it was talking about the vulgar nature, which I think she's maybe valid there. But everything else was very much about the experience, right? And it was about, oh my God, it was an Instagram fest. All these cameras were in my face and these kids were bum rushing the line at the bar. Like, that is an etiquette issue, right? And so I think we open up the can of worms, like you said, on that issue. It's definitely something I notice at every single show I go to. I go to a lot of shows, and it's just the camera, like the cell phones, the talking, it's just, you know, it's a problem. And the other thing I think too, because she said she doesn't go to concerts that often unless it's an artist she really likes. And what I think maybe she's inferring to is maybe ticket prices. And, you know, I was looking at ticket costs for this show. It's about $80 roughly in most markets, but in places where it's sold out, it's up to $375 in LA. And so if you're Yeah, if you're paying that top dollar, you probably expect a show that's going to meet all of your expectations,
Sure.
and that's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Would you say, Selena, you know, you're going to a lot of concerts, and obviously, like you said, a lot of artists might be getting their big break on TikTok, on social media. Would you say maybe across the board, it is kind of a lot of the younger generation attending the concert in your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I cover a lot of pop shows too, and so I think there is a younger demographic. I see this at Lollapalooza every single year. The demo just gets younger and younger, and it's like us elder Gen X people intermingling with the young crowds. But, you know, again, they deserve to be there, and it's like they are the new music consumers, and I'm telling you that they're the ones that are shaping the trends because they're the ones who are going to be there for a bit longer than us, and they're going to have the money to spend on these things. And so, you know, it's just, we have to kind of come together and all kind of enjoy it as we can.
Before we let you go, I do want to squeeze this in. You know, like I said, I'm 37, and the whole argument is about his age range. I had never heard of this kid before this whole thing blew up. So in a strange way, is this the best thing that could have happened to him? Because we are now all talking about a music artist that up till about 24 hours ago I did not know existed.
I mean, the adage is true that no press is bad press. So I guarantee you if his tour wasn't sold out yet, it's going to be sold out now, because even if you're not a fan, you're going to want to go see why people are talking about him, and if they want to make their own opinions. So yeah, perfect for him.
Interesting.
Selena, where can people find more information and more work from you? Because we love you.
Oh, thank you. I love you guys too. It's so fun to always be on here. I write for the Sun-Times as well. I'm in there about once a week or more. Spin Magazine. I'm on all the socials. I think you have my handle there at Selena Fergassi.
Is there anyone coming up in Chicago that you're excited that you think is going to be a great show?
I'm going to David Byrne next week.
Of course you are.
Oh my God,
of course you are. Must be nice.
Great. But November is, if you, speaking of like age groups, if you love like classic rock,
sure.
Paul McCartney, Robert Plant, it's going to be a big month. So.
Okay.
He was a Beatle.
Jake.
And he was in Wings.
Jake, you know what? I've already embarrassed myself in front of Selena because I asked some crazy statements / questions to you. But thank you so much for joining us, and we'll make sure that everyone at home makes sure to follow you and keeps up with some of your work. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye. All right, we have much more in the 11 o'clock hour. See ya, Jake. Come on over, Tia.
Oh, I'm being replaced by Tia? Oh, you're talk about an upgrade. Talk about an upgrade. Talk about an upgrade.
Okay, we'll be right back after this.
I can't top that. I'm sorry.
Gonna miss ya.
This
Tia is to know that it is Thursday.
Friday Eve. It just dawned on me.
I'm so excited. Are you happy to be here?
I am happy to be here.
I am happy to be here,
It was,
too.
you know what, the 10 o'clock show was great. I'm glad I got rid of Jake, though, and switched you out.
Yeah, but Jake is one of a kind.
No,
we
he's
can't
great.
dish Jake.
Oh, he's not here anymore, dang
One
it. You'd be running
of
up
a
here.
kind. He really is. Okay, we got to talk about what we have coming up in the show. Neighborhood news. We're going to talk with Block Club Chicago. They're always with us talking about some really exciting things that they've been working on, including a former CPS student who won $25,000. I think this is
This is
amazing.
an incredible story.
Yeah, this is called the Courage Award after she stepped in and decided to teach her classmates chemistry because the teacher left mid-year. I don't even know how that happens.
I don't know either, especially being a student.
questions.
When I first read it, I was like, oh, it must just be like someone in the neighborhood who decided to step in. No, it isn't. It was an actual student.
Yeah, which is impressive.
And I want to give you guys a hint that she gave the money towards a good cause instead of pocketing it herself.
Didn't keep it for herself, which says a lot about her, right? And
Big
what her
time.
future will be like. Okay, also zombie jobs, and we're not talking about walking through the street zombie. I know Halloween's right around the corner. We're talking about something a little bit more serious on the job market front. What are they and how do you spot one? We're going to have that coming up later in the show as well. But we also got to talk about this. This is day 22, and it almost seems unbelievable. I think this is one of the longest. I think Pierre Schutz told me this yesterday. One of the longest government shutdowns in American history. And it's just crazy that we're here. We've talked about the impact this will have on people that currently receive Obamacare and their premiums, their insurance premiums, how that will impact them. We've talked about air traffic controllers. One thing we haven't talked about, small businesses and how they're impacted.
It's funny, Tia, because, and I didn't realize it's one of the longest because they all seem super long, don't they? But it has a ripple effect. It's not just at the top. So we're going to have someone come on, Dan Veroni, CEO of Potomac Core Counseling and author of Rethinking Economic Growth, How Small Businesses Can Help Consistently Grow the Economy. So I guess, Dan, our first question for you would be, what are some of the ways the government shutdown is directly impacting small businesses right now across America?
Dan, can you hear us?
This is the... Yeah, I can.
Okay. Oh, awesome.
This is actually the second longest shutdown in American history. And it is taking a toll, by the way, and I want to give you some examples of it. So if you're a small business today and you're looking to secure your loan from the Small Business Administration, it's not going to happen because they're shut down. The other thing that's not going to happen is that if you've got regulatory compliance issues, OSHA, the Environmental Protection Agency, so on and so forth, you're not going to get your questions answered. If you've got concerns related to your taxes, your tax payments with the IRS, you're not going to get your questions answered. And these are absolutely serious issues that need to be addressed. But let me give you some context, if I might. Do you know that 99.9% of the companies in this country are small businesses? And on average, they employ 8 or fewer people. So there are a lot of small businesses throughout the United States, and they're all feeling the shutdown. So for those companies that are small businesses that are near federal government facilities, what I can tell you is that those small businesses aren't seeing the same flow of customers because the federal government is shut down. So where our company is located in Northern Virginia, a lot of federal government offices and a lot of small businesses are not seeing the same flow of customers. So these are big challenges, and they're absolutely having a serious impact.
Dan, I know your business isn't located here in Illinois, but you lived in Palatine for 24 years and you served on the village council for 21 years while you were there. A lot of small businesses in and around the Chicagoland area, 22 days. We talked to our political reporter, Pierre Schutz, yesterday. He said this may go on for a while. So if we're talking, let's say we end up at 30 plus days, the longer this goes, how deeply does this impact the small mom and pop businesses?
So it absolutely is going to impact them in a very serious way. So if you can imagine, the small companies compared to the large companies have very thin cash flow. So they don't have the financial padding or the cash cushions that the larger companies do. And it's going to squeeze their businesses. It's going to hurt them. Some could be forced to lay off their employees, which they hate doing. And some might close, and we hope that doesn't happen. And the other thing that I would add is that we're in a situation nowadays that any disruption for small business is problematic. For my book, I did 50 hours worth of interviews. 35 of those hours were with small businesses. And what's really unsettling for them is the uncertainty. The greater the uncertainty, the bigger their challenges. And the shutdown needs to end sooner, not later. Otherwise, our small businesses will be in serious trouble. And we don't want that, because 2 out of 3 new private sector jobs come from small businesses. And our labor markets right now are challenged, and we need our small businesses to be very, very strong.
Well, you know, hopefully, like you said, it doesn't last for another week, 2 weeks, but how can small business leaders maybe adjust things now to help them for the foreseeable future?
So I think that for all small businesses, they need to factor a few things. One is if they have loan payments coming due, they need to talk to their bankers. A number of them deal with community banks. They need to do that immediately. They need to build out a solid cash flow plan and anticipate that this shutdown may go at least until early November. So we're looking at another 2 or so weeks. And I think it's about cash flow and then talking to their vendors. If there's payments they need to make with their vendors, they need to be upfront with them and tell them the shutdown has created serious cash flow problems for them. And the final thing I would say is small business owners are optimistic by nature. They are resilient. They will get through this. And our hope is that the shutdown ends sooner rather than later.
Dan, I want to ask you this because we often hear, you know, small businesses are the backbone to the American economy. And like you said, this could go on for another 14 days. And I think that's on the optimistic side. If it does go longer than that, if it extends beyond that and businesses do close, explain the ripple effect that has on the U.S. economy for those that are watching.
I am just going to tell you it's going to be dramatic. So as you know, the Federal Reserve meets next week, and top of mind for the Fed chair and the Board of Governors at the Federal Reserve is the rapidly deteriorating labor market. So we have an economy that's driven by our consumers. Almost 70% of our economy is driven by consumers. If our small businesses aren't adding jobs at the level of 2 of 3 every new private sector jobs, we are going to have a rapidly shrinking workforce, and that means it's going to have a strong ripple effect on the economy and these small businesses. And honestly, we do not want to go there. We want to do everything possible to get the government open. And that's going to start, by the way, when both sides in Washington talk and have serious conversations. This has got to end. But I will tell you, the ripple effect is going to be dramatic. And what I mean by dramatic is that we came after the first 2 quarters with strong growth at about 3.8%. That will go away. We'll have fewer people working. And as we end the year and go into next year, the economy could get into serious trouble. So the shutdown needs to end, and small businesses need to get back to full capacity.
Well, it seems like in general you're, you know, a leader with small businesses, including your book that you wrote, Rethinking Economic Growth, How Small Businesses Can Help Consistently Grow the Economy. Tell us about that book. You know, does it kind of help prepare maybe small businesses for this, or at least educate others to maybe support small businesses a little bit more?
You know, actually what it does is it gives small businesses hope in a few ways. The first of which is that small businesses are community-minded, and what I mean by that is they do a highly effective job of banding together and helping one another in their communities. They help one another solve problems. They help one another find ways to continue to grow their businesses and grow their employment base and to be even better leaders in the community. But what the book really does is have a prescription and a roadmap for how our economy can grow at a 3% level over the long term. What I mean by that is that small businesses represent almost 50% of the U.S. economy. If the right policies are in place, small businesses can help the U.S. economy grow consistently at a 3% level. And why that matters, especially for your listeners in the greater Chicagoland area, is as follows. If the economy grows at 3%, we have a $30 trillion economy. That means there would be $1 trillion more to invest back into the economy throughout the United States. That's very powerful. And again, this book is a roadmap for small businesses to follow to really help the country grow at 3%. It's also a policy roadmap, I might add, for policymakers in Washington, in the states, and for all the regulators at the federal level and the state level.
Dan, where can people get your book that are watching right now and maybe they're intrigued, they want to read more?
So they can go to Amazon. It's there under Rethinking Economic Growth and Dan Veroni. And I encourage especially small businesses to get this book and read the case studies. There's 12 industry case studies. They will be not only intrigued but really energized, and they will want to follow this policy roadmap and really make things happen to grow their businesses.
Well, I think I know a few big name people who might be able to use your book there, Dan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Have a great day and enjoy the weekend.
Oh, thank you so much for being with us. Yeah, you know, that's a really important topic, and at moments it can be scary too. Maybe that's why his Zoom was popping in and out. It was a scary topic to discuss, you know? So, yeah, but
it's Halloween.
It's a very important topic to talk about too. And really, I appreciate Dan's optimism, because when you hear a lot of people talk about this, it's not very optimistic right now. So, yeah, very, very good conversation to have.
Coming up after the break, we're going to talk about some local news with Block Club Chicago. It is Thursday, so we're having John Hanson on right here. We'll see you then. Welcome back to Chicago Now. We are talking with one of our favorite peeps, John Hanson from Block Club Chicago. He is joining us live via Zoom. One of these days, we're actually sitting down here with us.
Girl, where are the treats? Where's the, like, if you put a nice little display of cheese and crackers on that table, I'll be there next week.
We got something coming. That's why the table's here. Stand by. We got you.
You're going to want to wish you're here. All right, John, let's talk about, though, first, a couple of topics. One, coming from Humboldt Park, there is a teen that won the Courage Award, and it's because she stepped up in a big way in her classroom. This is a crazy story.
Yes, I'm going to rewind back to Mina Bloom's original story from Block Club Chicago, which was last year, might even been a year and a half ago at this point, where she kind of broke this big story that a 15-year-old at the time, Carolina Carchi, had actually stepped up and taught her chemistry class, not for like a day, for months. That's a picture of her doing this. She was at Clemente, and this was part of a broader story about teacher absences. And this is not a story to bash teachers for taking the absences that they need to take and that they deserve. This is a story about not replenishing the teachers or having substitute teachers in the schools that can then teach the curriculum. Because when a teacher leaves for weeks or months at a time for legitimate health reasons, a student shouldn't be the one to step up. But Carolina was basically like, no one's going to teach this class, and the The substitute was just like sitting there. So she like went to Kinko's, like made curriculum and taught this class effectively. You saw her there at the old overhead projector. And it was a broader story again about teacher absenteeism, but the story of Carolina just really caught on. It went crazy viral. And why not, right? I mean, it's an astonishing thing. She got some local accolades, but now she's gotten the national award from the Courage Project for stepping up and doing this in a big way. It comes with a $25,000 reward, which, of course, in her fashion, she's donating to a nonprofit. She's not taking it. And she's a freshman at UIC, and she wants to be a teacher because, of course, she does.
She looks like a teacher. Honestly, when I saw her, I thought, wow, that looks like a little teacher. Yeah, I'm happy that she did that. But at the same time, sad to know that that is some of the circumstances within our Chicago public schools. And it definitely is an issue that needs to be addressed, I would say, on a bigger scale.
Yeah, well, like 43% of schools, I'll have to read Mina's story to get the exact quote, but there was it was like 43 to 45% of CPS schools were experiencing extreme absenteeism problems. So half of our schools, roughly, having a big problem with absenteeism. So you're right, like this should not be happening, but like someone stepped up. I will also note that CPS refuted the original reporting that she wasn't this involved until literally she brought the receipts of everything she did at Kinko's, and all those photos emerged of her teaching the class. So it's not a story necessarily that Clemente or CPS wanted out there, but that's what we do at Blog Club Chicago. We find these stories, we bring you what's really happening in the neighborhoods and report them. And good for her. I'm really pumped for her. This should be about her celebration and this Courage Award, this national recognition, and that's awesome.
And we are happy that you bring this to light because we didn't know some of these stories. It would be interesting to be a fly on the wall in that classroom, wouldn't it? Like, I wonder if the students actually were listening to her, you know?
Yeah, well,
like,
I know.
I think
the students were incredibly thankful. It's a great question because, honestly, they were worried about taking their tests. Their tests that they have to take to go to college, all this crazy stuff. And that's why she ended up teaching chemistry. I mean, chemistry is not some subject that I couldn't step up there and teach it. Like, she had to research it and know what was coming in and develop a curriculum. And the students said the only reason they passed their tests at the end of the year is because she stepped up for months and did it. Because otherwise, what a large gap that would have been in chemistry. And to top it all off, this wasn't the first time she did it. She actually stepped up as a freshman in her algebra class for a week or two to do this exact same thing. It's wild.
It is wild, but at the same time, I think that's probably a great person to learn from, is another peer, and she would know the students better than any substitute would anyway. Okay, we got to talk about this, and this is why you should have been here, and now you're going to miss out. Giordano's is launching tavern-style pizza with cheese folded into the dough. So we already know, right, that they serve up thin crust, but this is the first time that they're serving up tavern-style, and they're doing this to coincide with National Tavern-Style Pizza Day. It actually launched yesterday. You can come on. We have Alan Garcia, the GM of Giordano's, right over here at Prudential Plaza, stepping on in, bringing us some pizza. First of all, thank you for bringing it.
My pleasure.
Yeah, John is missing out. Let's talk about this. So traditional thin crust has a bit more of a soft, doughy crust. What's different with the tavern style?
Right, the difference about tavern style pizza is a really thinner pizza. So we put all the ingredients, cheese, sauce, all the way to the top. It has that caramelized top and bottom. So we make sure every single bite has a crunch.
And this is straight out the oven, I'm told.
Yes, that is correct. That is
John,
correct.
it's crunchy. It's crunchy. It's cheesy. It is good.
Wow.
Right,
I'm glad you like it.
No offense to your amazing producer. Someone should have pinged me on this, and I would have driven in.
Hold on, John. Wait a minute. You guys were talking over each other. Go ahead, Alan. Say that one more time.
All right. So we're offering this pizza like all occasions, of course. And we have the specialty pizzas, and of course you can make your own. We have different ingredients, we have vegetarian options as well. So everybody, please, I invite you to come to Giordano's to try this fabulous pizza. We're very excited about it, and it's going to be definitely a popular pizza.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alan.
Our
okay,
pleasure.
John, I know you're jealous now. Sorry, I didn't mean to close it. You guys still have the video.
Right when we had the greatest shot.
You look so sad. Did you have breakfast this morning?
Come. We've given you plenty of warning.
I didn't have breakfast. I'm so hungry right now, and I just,
Here you go.
You guys always say, yeah, come on in, but I would have liked a very specific, detail-oriented invitation that said, there will be pizza, and I would have been there. Giordano's is my favorite deep dish style pizza in the city. I know there's debates about this stuff. You cannot beat that cheese pull that goes to the ceiling at Giordano's. I got to try their tavern style, especially with cheese woven in, or some delicate word that he used, folded it in to the crust. Yeah, folded the cheese, exactly.
Did you guys do a story with Giordano's talking about this, and what did you find?
What I find, well, basically just that they are, catching on to the wind, right? This is part of a broader debate. Deep dish pizza is what everyone else outside of Chicago knows us for. And look, we are known for that, right? I like a deep dish pizza like once a year. Like, it's like a special thing for me to do. Once a year. Probably twice or three times a year, to be honest. But the tavern style, I think, is more locally famous, especially on the south side of Chicago, where there's a lot of places. There's not a wrong answer here, because now some people are like, oh, tavern style is the real Chicago pizza. Deep dish is just for tourists. I think it's somewhere in the middle, right? I think we can like both these kinds, but I'm glad Giordano's is getting on the tavern style train. Do they have the small corner pieces, guys? I can't see on the pizza.
Yes. Yeah, they do. Let me pop one up for you here, John.
I literally go for all four corner pieces first. And is that rude to do? I think that's just my wheelhouse.
I mean, yeah, you just got to beat John to the punch, I guess.
Here's what I would say.
It's hard to beat me to the punch, but I go for those corner pieces first. They're like that perfect size. Some of them, sometimes, and some of the pieces are so small you can almost like toss it in your mouth.
Yeah.
And
this is what I will say. This makes you feel, if you're like, you have, some diet or something that you got going on, this makes you feel less guilty. Because you feel like the dough is so thin that it's like a cracker that you're not really consuming a lot of carbs. At least that's the way I feel right now. I don't know if it's really justified. But that's what I'm going with, John.
I have been to Fox's Pizza many times over in the southwest suburbs, and I could eat the entire thing. And now I could do the same thing at Giordano's.
My favorite behind Giordano's is Doreen's. Have you ever had Doreen's pizza?
No.
It's one in Hegewisch, and it's one in Dyer, Indiana. Oh, my goodness.
Really? That good?
I know it's rude to eat with my mouth full, so. Okay.
No, you guys are good. I got more pizza facts for you while you guys chomp down if you want.
Go ahead,
a couple more.
Please.
Did you know the average American eats 180 slices of pizza a year? That's about like 3 or 4 a week, which I think is tracking with what I'm saying. But they must not be the corner pieces, because those don't count as a full piece. That's all I'm saying. The tavern cut style, I feel like you can get away with it because they're smaller pieces, and then you can just kind of like chomp down, and then all of a sudden it's all gone.
I wonder if we have any
really
other
insecure about my my chomping right now. I am on my second piece, and I'm going to go in for my third, don't you worry. But I apologize if it's just so loud, but it's really crunchy. It's good. It has a nice undercarriage, you know?
It is very
just
crunchy.
as they say. Hey, John.
Has a nice what?
Undercarriage. You've never heard that? Look it now.
What are you talking?
I don't know what
I've never heard that in my life.
Let me educate you, because I do have my special second bite pizza review that I do, also known as Gabby's Too Nice Pizza Review. So, John, we go around to different pizza places that Dave Portnoy from Barstool has gone to here in Chicago, and we give them another try to kind of do a little rebuttal, get to talk about if they thought their score was fair, also talking about their business, how it started, what's special there. I get to flip around some dough. Anyways, undercarriage in the pizza biz is very important, and this is good.
Well, you can hear how crunchy it is. Tap it again. Tap it.
See, here I was thinking you were making something up, and it turns out you've done the research.
I know my pizza
You're a journalist. You're an award-winning journalist. You don't mess around.
Exactly.
Mess around. Okay, we got to, while she's eating, I'll tee up the next thing. So Resilience Art Fest is showcasing stories from prison and beyond. Tell us all about this. This is interesting.
Yeah, this is a fascinating story. It's the Resilience Arts Fest, as you mentioned. It starts today, it goes through Sunday. And each day it features like performances and artwork, essentially from either people that were formerly and wrongly incarcerated, including some for decades, and some people that are still incarcerated. And it was all started by Brian Beals, which is a name I think a lot of people remember. He was an Englewood native. He was exonerated about 3 years ago. He served 35 years in prison wrongfully. He founded the Mud Theater Project, which grew out of his writing and the writing community within the Illinois Department of Corrections, right? There's a lot of great things that happen in the prisons. Maybe great is an exaggeration, but at least things that people can do to feel dignified and learn a new skill or to express themselves and show that artwork with the hopes of recidivism one day. But for a lot of people that are incarcerated forever, and wrongly so, that eventually make it out, that is not an easy transition back on in. So I think what the Resilience Arts Fair, and there's Brian right there, the Resilience Art Fair does is give this incredible artwork a chance to shine, get on its feet a little bit. So each day there's a different performance that really reflects so many things. Tonight, it's a play called Unforgettable. It's Stanley Howard's autobiographical piece reflecting on the day that he was sentenced to death. I mean, we're talking about some heavy, serious stuff. He spent 39 years in prison, 16 on death row, exonerated, now a paralegal in the Uptown People's Law Center. There's also going to be events tomorrow, community art that's led by a performance called Rhythmic Wounds, which is a musical and poetic exploration of trauma. And there's just going to be so many different pieces. I just find this fascinating, the idea. And also, I should also note, there will be performances from artists who are still incarcerated. They are being compensated for their work, too. That was a question that a lot of people had, that are still incarcerated, right? And maybe not all wrongfully so, but incarcerated nonetheless, and still wanting to, explore their artistic sides. So I just find this a really interesting study and showcase of a part of our population that I think a lot of us like to just, once they close the door and lock away the key, we in our own minds kind of do that too, wrongfully so probably. And it's just exciting to explore the mind of these folks that are going through some of this stuff.
Yeah, it's like freedom beyond the walls too. For people that are still incarcerated, that they have art that they like to do. It's a way, I guess, to take your mind off of the time that you have to do as well. So yeah, I love it. This festival is at the Definition Theater, which is located at 1160 East 55th Street.
Yeah, that's in Hyde Park. And again, it's tonight through Sunday. And theater needs our help in general. That's just a blanket statement. And I know the downtown theaters, look, they do great stuff. I love going to them to see the musicals that pop on in, the big runs. Those are great. Support those theaters too. But some of these smaller theaters, like the Mud Theater Project, the Chicago, like you mentioned, where this festival is at the Definition Theater, up and down our city, so many have closed, guys, in the last few years. The pandemic was, of course, exacerbated a problem that already existed. And this is just a John Hanson aside, but like whether it's this weekend going to this, whether it's another weekend, like, and also in the suburbs too, so many great theaters as well. Please, as a former theater guy, I like to say it's still in my heart somewhere, guys. We have to support our theaters, and what a great way to do it this weekend.
Yeah, what a powerful message, especially for kids, young people, to go to this. To go to something like this, just learn an extra lesson, right, and take it with them.
Well, I think it's about showing the true depth of humanity, right? Like, a lot of people are in prison, rightfully so, for crimes that they committed. They're doing their time, but it doesn't mean they aren't still a person, right? And, maybe this depends on the severity of the crime, how much you're willing to buy into this argument. But the idea is that there still is a passion for something that a lot of people have, and in order to get through these days, weeks, months, and years, to be able to foster something, I think not only helps them have a spirit inside that can be awoken or at least tapped into, but I think then once they've done their time and they're back in society, the recidivism rates go way lower when you have given them a skill or something to hold on to cling to fight for inside. And that's, I think, ultimately the goal, right? We don't want people going back to right back to jail, right? That costs us taxpayers a lot of money, that upends families that don't need to be upended. And anything we can do to foster, I mean, you guys are chomping on pizza. The Cook County Jail does a program where they cook pizzas. They do a whole cooking program.
Fantastic.
Like, these are things that need to be embraced. These are like solid uses of tax dollars that I think could be expanded more if we have the resources and the ability to do so. That's a John Hanson on my soapbox moment.
Yeah, I had the benefit of having one of those pizzas, and actually I'm supposed to be doing a story because a lot of the ingredients for the pizzas come from a garden that's right there on the property as well. So, and the pizza is actually really, really, really good.
It's really good. It is really, really good. Giordano's is great too. Nothing against the Giordano's.
But it's good.
It's good.
It's really good. All right, John, I do want to ask you a final question before we let you go. When you were talking about theater there, I could see the emotion from this side. Even though it's on Zoom, I could tell you were really emotional. Where was that emotion coming from?
Well, I grew up and I had parents who are watching right now, thanks Mom and Dad, who just really bought into the theater side that I wanted to explore, right? They bought me like, remember the old camcorders with the VHS? You guys might be too young for this.
Of course I'm not
the
too young.
VHS camcorder.
I remember
when
them.
they were done with that one and they got a little smaller one, they gave me the big one to play with, right? To do that. They wanted me to, I wrote plays for my friends in the neighborhoods to play in the basement. And then I went to Downers Grove South High School, public high school, that has a huge investment into speech and theater and debate and all that sort of stuff. And it does not get the rah-rah that the football team gets and the basketball team. And there's nothing wrong with that. Both my brothers were all state football players. What I'm saying is, in the tapestry of public education or private education, the tapestry of what we celebrate, boy, we get up, and I do too, for the big Cubs game, the Bears game, all those sorts of things. And we get up for our high school football and basketball and all that stuff. But we just need to always just take a reminder, again, that there are so many different areas to explore. And that's where the arts come from. And I am a fierce advocate wherever I can for the arts, and I appreciate the chance to spout loud and proud for DGS, my parents, and any kid out there that wants to try something that that really explores that side of themselves.
Oh, very good points that you bring up there, John Hanson. You always bring it so eloquently and lovely. We appreciate you coming on. But next time that we see you, you have to take a brown chair, and we hope to see you in person the next time.
Oh, like to, I think you meant like leave with it.
No,
you mean
like,
to sit? Okay.
Yeah, no, come sit with it. And then
I'm like, I like those chairs. I'll take one for my living room. That's fine.
They're a little awkward at times. You know, sometimes you can't figure out like how to sit officially.
This is my signature
yeah,
spot
they're very
right
like, yeah, it's comfortable.
I'll bring my own chair. You bring the pizza.
Okay. That's a deal.
Thanks, John.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you so
You're the
much,
best.
John. We'll see you next time. Okay, we got to talk to Let Me Fail. We're going to talk to them right after this break. They're all about teaching kids resiliency through failure. We'll have them explain it right after this break. Welcome back to Chicago Now. Now that we've gotten some napkins and wiped our mouths, we want to talk about something really interesting, I would say, especially as a parent. So Let Me Fail actually teaches kids resiliency through failure. It's a learning superpower is what they're saying about failing. Our next guests are all about helping children win through their failures. And let's talk to the actual founder, Loie Sickle, who is joining us right now. Created this. Loie, talk about what is Let Me Fail and how does it work?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. So Let Me Fail is a program that I co-founded with Chick Thompson, who is a former professor of entrepreneurship at UVA. And I'm an author that writes about entrepreneurship for kids. And we created Let Me Fail to help kids build resilience and spark creativity when things don't go quite right. Because what we're seeing out there is that, you know, if you look at the past, all the people I've written about, Walt Disney creating Mickey Mouse, and Phil Knight creating Nike, and Ole Kirk Christensen creating Lego, one of the things they all have in common is great resilience when things go wrong and the ability to get really creative when there's a failure. And so what we were thinking about is how can we create a program that teaches kids actually how to overcome failure? Well, first you got to fail first. And so our program is kind of unique where we have activities and games and puzzles and stories where the kids are actually failing on purpose. And what that does is it lets kind of that fear of failure disappear, and kids learn how to overcome failure, not be afraid of it, and get really creative when failure happens.
You know, I see kind of some colorful books behind you, maybe even some of those games, but can you explain maybe just one of them out of the array that you guys have, and be specific with how the actual game or how the actual book looks, and how it's kind of displayed? Is it through a teacher playing it with the kids? Is it through parents maybe doing it?
Yeah, and actually we have teachers all over the country who are doing this. I grabbed one because it's pretty easy to show on camera. One is build a contraption for an egg that when you drop it 10 feet off the ground, hits this target and doesn't smash. Okay, well let's fail first, right? So kids get really, all of a sudden, they're like not afraid to try funny things. So what might they do? They might build a contraption out of rocks or sticks. They might drop it blindfolded. They might cover it in slime. They might do all these crazy things. And then all of a sudden, you flip that. Okay, what didn't work? Now, how can we create something? You can see right there, there's one of our helper teenagers who was creating maybe a paper boat that's supposed to float. We've got rocket ships that are supposed to blast off. We've got all these really cool, there's a bridge that you've got to hang things, a bridge made out of straw. But let's fail first, because when you fail first, you kind of forget to be scared about failure, and you get rid of all the nervousness of failing. And then kids, we flip it. We say, okay, what didn't work? Now, was there a good idea in there somewhere? We have one activity where we come up with fail on purpose questions. And one of my favorite things was, one of the questions was, create a superhero with useless powers. And I visited a classroom that did this, and they were coming up with, you know, Mr. Slime and Mr. No Muscles. And I said, okay, well, that's great. Now, when could Mr. Slime actually be a good superhero? What kind of villain might he be able to go after and tackle and beat? And so it's gotten really creative. And those are just some of the activities. Some of the stories come from my books about overcoming failure and real people who really did overcome some failure. I'll show you the first Lego that was ever made. I don't know if you can see that, but what's so different about the first Lego was that it's hollow. And if we look at a real Lego, you know, there's those tubes in there, and that's what makes Lego bricks snap. And so this is really important to show kids. I had these made because, look, this isn't going to work. And these Lego bricks were a complete fail. But what happened was they didn't give up. They said, well, how can we innovate this Lego brick? I mean, they really could have said this is a failure toy, let's move on to the next toy. But what they did instead was they created these tubes inside, and the space in between the side of the tubes and the wall is just a little too small for the studs on top. So now, of course, we all know when you smush your Lego bricks together, they stick, right? So this is a perfect example of a real life failure that turned into one of the biggest toys in the entire world.
I love that. Loie, I don't know if this is a question for you. If not, we'll bring in Alicia at some point too, but have you seen any numbers that actually show that this has improved learning in certain school settings for children?
Right now, this is a brand new program that we launched in the spring, and we are relying on teachers, and I think bringing Alicia in to talk about this would be a great idea. But what we're hearing is that kids who especially struggle in traditional learning are finally feeling like they have a place where their creative ideas matter, and they're not so scared to speak up. And I'm sure Alicia has many more examples. I had one teacher in Arkansas tell me that the kids used to come into the classroom all spring long and say, "Can we fail today?" And it was just like this safe place where failures were embraced and learning was embraced. I had another teacher in Massachusetts who created a failure wall. And so every mistake made throughout the school year, they proudly pinned it up on the wall. And they would tell their class, what did I learn from it? So really unique things that teachers are doing all throughout the school year.
You know, before we get to Alicia, Louie, I just want to ask you too, even though you hear these stories about Walt Disney, about Legos, which is new to me actually, I didn't know that kind of starting up story. Still, you know, just hearing those stories, you might be hesitant as a kid to want to fail. Do you still get the same response? Like it's kind of hard for them to adopt the mindset right away? Or is it really changing because you implemented these games and books?
So the most important thing we have to teach kids is that, you know, we hear these stories, like you said, that Walt Disney failed and Phil Knight failed. But how do you actually practice failure when you're always trying to succeed in life? And so this is the whole kind of key of our program, is that we are asking kids to fail on purpose. And that's kind of the hook on it. It's like any sport. You can't learn how to play golf until you go to the driving range and hit 1,000,000 balls and practice your mistakes. Like, we are actually saying, well, the only way to practice getting better at failure and to not be so scared of it is to practice it in the classroom. And that way, like, there's actually some brain science behind this, where we're kind of rewiring the brain, this fight or flight amygdala part of our brain that is so scared of failure. We are rewiring it. We're saying, okay, there's no consequences with the failure now. Okay, so we're not going to be afraid of it. And in fact, we're going to start to learn to embrace it and then start to think in opposites and think creatively when failure does happen.
Lily, I'm very happy that you created this because it does, you know, it makes it where you're really creating also an entrepreneur in some of these kids, because a lot of entrepreneurs fail and they keep failing and then finally they get it right, and next thing you know, they're multimillionaires, billionaires. Lily, we thank you. We want to bring in Alicia into the conversation, and we can't have both of you at the same time. So we do thank you for coming on with us. We're going to talk to Alicia about this. But if you think about it, some of the stories that we've heard about people, you know, some of the people that we look at as icons, right, in the business world, we've heard that they failed, they dropped out of college, whatever, and they kept trying, and now they're people that we revere. We want to bring in Alicia, who's a teacher. Is it in Wilmette, Alicia?
Yes, I'm at Ramona Elementary School.
Oh, Ramona Elementary School. Thank you for taking time out of your day. I know that's hard as a teacher to talk to us. Tell me how Let Me Fail has really helped in the classroom with your students.
Yes. So I'm a school librarian, and so I have the unique opportunity that I get to collaborate with classroom teachers. And so our fourth graders, part of their social studies curriculum is that they study the Industrial Revolution and they study innovation and how products and things have changed over time. And also in their science curriculum, they study motion and energy. And so right now, my fourth grade students in their classrooms, they are working together in groups to build roller coasters. And so we taught the Let Me Fail lessons ahead of the roller coaster unit. And so this way, the kids, before they do this final project of that unit, they are able to practice Let Me Fail, because this framework applies to anything. It doesn't have to be these exact challenges. You know, the teachers can really take this framework and teach the kids this game and then be able to apply it across the curriculum and across different subject areas.
And I bet you see a change in the kids too, you know, like some of them maybe suffering with anxiety or stress. Do you see, like, yeah, I guess, do you see a change once they finish the Let Me Fail program?
Yes, I definitely see a change. The students are excited to fail. And so we kind of chant, we have this mantra, like, let me fail. And so the students know by failing that they are learning and their brain is growing, and that they know if they had the opportunity to do the activity or the challenge again, what they would change to improve their design. So it's really getting kids to think outside of the box and to be more creative. And so having them reflect back on what they learned has been a really important part of this process, because it is hands-on, teaching the kids how to be reflective and also how to brainstorm.
Alicia, let me ask you this. This is my last question for you. When I think about my own parenting style, you know, I'll admit, you know, I'm usually like, hey, don't fail. You know, we got to get this right. You know, the first time, how important or how difficult has it been to kind of change that mindset? Because I think a lot of parents, they push excellency on their children, not failure.
Right. And, you know, we want to protect our children, and we think by having them not fail that we are protecting them, but actually we are taking away their opportunities to think for themselves and to think creatively and brainstorm with partners. And so having this framework taught in schools, I think, is really important because it teaches kids perseverance, and it teaches them not to give up, and it teaches them great collaboration skills and communication skills. And so it would be great to see this framework being used throughout the school and having this kind of be a school-wide theme of let me fail, and it's okay for us to keep trying and not giving up.
Yeah, and some of the exercises sound so fun too.
They
if I was
do.
a kid, I would be like,
roller
yes.
coaster, how cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, well, Alicia, we'll let you go back to, I guess you're probably already in the library. It's supposed to be quiet in there.
Yeah.
So we'll let you get back to it. Thank you so much for educating our children. It's a job that oftentimes you aren't thanked for, so we thank you for doing that. It's a lot of work being a teacher. We understand that, and a librarian. So thank you for your time on our show today.
Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it.
Yes,
all right,
see you
it's
later.
a pleasure.
I wish I had a librarian like her.
I know, and had let me fail. There's no telling what I would be doing now.
No, exactly.
You know, I mean,
and I think you asked a really good question because yes, as a parent, you're going to want your kid to be perfect, but also this gives an opportunity for a lot of kids who have a good situation to go through a little bit of adversity, right? Even if it is small little tasks, and maybe learn something from it.
True.
All right.
I'm trying to hide my pizza.
Yeah. Tina has been eating pizza pretty much this entire time, just so you know. All right, Halloween's coming up, and there's something called zombie jobs, but it's not a job where you become a zombie. It's actually a job that's just been hanging around for a little bit too long. So we're going to hit on that right after the break.
If you're a
Okay, we've heard ghost jobs. Now we're talking about zombie jobs. It doesn't. This isn't because we're close to Halloween. It just happens to be a topic of conversation. Yeah. But we're going to bring in an expert here, Michelle Reisdorf, district director at Robert Half in Chicago. I guess our first question is going to be, what is a zombie job? Because we've heard of the ghost jobs, and how are they different?
So the ghost jobs are typically jobs that are posted and maybe not real jobs. Maybe a company is doing some kind of recruiting. Whereas zombie jobs are truly real jobs that companies have to fill, but are taking longer than normal in the interview process or cycle to actually select a candidate and fill.
Michelle, why is that? What's causing the slowdown in the hiring process? You know, there used to be a time where there was a job on the job board, it was public, you give it a few weeks, the job was taken down, obviously the job was filled. Now you're seeing jobs up there for months.
Yeah, so multiple reasons, right? Sometimes a company will start the process and all of a sudden they have shifting priorities or, you know, maybe a budget constraint that wasn't, you know, listed when we posted the job, but then suddenly priorities change and now all of a sudden there's budget constraints. But sometimes it's simply just the overall process itself. And that's what we're finding more often than not, is that when companies are making a decision to hire, they're being really thoughtful about that decision, and oftentimes they're interviewing multiple rounds. Sometimes there are team interviews being involved, and so that decision-making process has greatly slowed down, which, you know, just sometimes will make a candidate in that process feel nervous about, you know, will this job ever come to fruition?
Yeah, no kidding. Well, there also has to be some like risk consequences for leaving the position open too long, no?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the longer it takes to fill a position or the longer a candidate goes through the process, the higher the likelihood that you may lose that candidate during the process, right? If they start to get nervous or feel like there's too many interviews or it's taking too long, they may also start to look at other options, fearing that this may never actually, you know, come to be a real position. And so, yes, there's definitely risk involved. There's kind of a fine line between how long is too long and how long is enough time to make sure that you're making a good decision about the hire.
Someone may be watching right now and they're applying for jobs. Maybe they applied for a job 2 months ago. They haven't heard, maybe they had an initial interview. They haven't heard back. The job is still posted. What should you do in that situation if you're the person looking for a job and there's this situation of this zombie job out there?
Yeah, I would say, you know, make sure your follow-up is really strong and really good. Even if you aren't hearing back, put a regular cadence to your follow-up, you know, calls weekly, emails weekly, checking in. If you're not hearing back, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You know, you should be considering other opportunities in the mix. Reach out to a recruiter. Sometimes recruiters know about opportunities that aren't even being posted. And then go back to networking 101, because it's a lot still about who you know. Maybe it's who you know at that company that might help you push that along, but who you know at other companies that know about other openings, so that you just have more opportunities in the mix, even if it is taking quite some time.
You know, how long does it have to be in order for it to be considered a zombie job? Is it a couple months? Is it 6 months, more than that?
Yeah, I don't know that there's probably any real, you know, length of time specified, but if you're anywhere in the process where you're feeling like there's not a clear next step, maybe a next interview, or it's really vague on whether or not it's going to move to the next step, you know, whether that's after 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, you know, it's probably a sign for you that that process is really slow. And again, you should have more options than less in that job search.
You know, it's really hard because, like, in some cases you're looking for a job and it feels like for some people there's a stalemate there. When did this become a thing, the zombie job? Because when I was in the job market, I don't remember ever hearing about this.
Yeah, no, for sure. Coming out of COVID, we saw a market where candidates had multiple opportunities, right? They could apply and get multiple offers. But over the last couple of years, as you know, it's felt a little tighter. Companies have just really, really been thoughtful about every dollar that they spend, including every hire that they make. And so that process, we've seen that process become longer and longer with multiple interviews, because they just want to make sure if they're going to spend the money to hire someone, that it's the right person, it will stick, and it will be a long-term solution for the company. And so really, we've seen it probably over the last year or so, where just companies have slowed that process down.
All right. Well, Michelle, we appreciate you for coming on and talking with us today, enlightening our viewers on really what to look for in really a volatile, I would say, job market that people are experiencing, especially those looking for jobs. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's always interesting.
It is, and I think it's so different from industry to industry. Like, yes, maybe ours moves a little bit more fast, but I would also imagine, I should have asked her this, that it's frustrating for the actual person who is already employed. Like, maybe you really need a job filled on your team because things aren't getting done, and yet it's not getting filled.
Especially, well, it sounds like sometimes it's a company decision. Even though you may be the hiring manager, it's not your decision, it's coming from hire. And that person that is responsible for hiring may not even be in the building, so they don't know what you're dealing with, you know, with a lack of
I'd go up
employees.
and knock on that door.
And they'll be like, get out of here, Gabby.
Exactly.
Do you remember the last time you went on a job interview? I do. I was interviewed by 5 people. It wasn't that long ago, and it was very interesting, to say the very least.
5 people?
Yeah, I wanted to see, was I still, you know, sometimes when you're working already and you're not really sure, you're like, oh, I just want to test the water. You want to see if you're still valuable and can you handle a round of interviews. So a few years ago, yeah, I was looking.
I guess that's normal. Yeah, it's kind of like a panel. And a lot of times you're talking to the VP, you're talking to the director or an executive, who knows. Oh, well, I'm glad that hopefully we're safe and we don't have to go through that process anytime soon. We're going to be the one interviewing others. We've had a good Thursday.
She said it. I hope we're safe. I hope we're safe too. All right. Hopefully we're safe enough to be back tomorrow for Chicago Now. We'll see you for Friday's edition. I'm so excited. I may bring a whistle or bell or something to blow it.
We started with pizza. What are we going to have tomorrow?
I don't know. Hopefully something even better. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great, safe rest of your day. See ya.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at Noon.
Now at noon, holding federal agents accountable. The latest executive order just signed by the governor. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Sylvia Perez. Let's start with our weather as we take a live look outside. Overcast skies. Meteorologist Mike Kaplan has a check of our forecast. Mike.
All right, I bet you thought it was cold this morning. Wait till you see what we've got coming up tomorrow. First of all, we're in the coldest air since April. We had that patchy frost this morning. Not everybody got it, but a lot of us did. A hard freeze and widespread frost is on the way tomorrow morning. In fact, a freeze warning is in effect for most of Chicagoland. Doesn't include the city or the immediate metro area because of the urban heat island, but everywhere is going to be cold tomorrow morning. Now, the good news, the weekend, which had looked like there might be some showers, especially on Sunday, it looks completely dry. Here's the next 3 days. Today, we're going to max out at 53 with a lot of sunshine. Tomorrow, we'll get it up to 55 with mostly sunny skies after that really cold start. Then on Saturday, temperatures moderate a little bit. We'll have partly to mostly sunny skies and a high temperature of 58 degrees. I'll give you a look at the rest of the weekend forecast and talk more about the risk of freezing temperatures in just a little bit. Back to you.
All right, thanks for that, Mike. Governor Pritzker is announcing more executive action to combat federal immigration raids in Illinois this morning. So to get the latest on what's happening, let's get right to political reporter Paris Schutz to find out what's going on.
Yeah, Sylvia, the governor this morning announced an executive order establishing the Accountability Commission. Now, this commission will be tasked with creating a public database of alleged misconduct from federal immigration agents and provide resources for those that are detained and their family members. Immigration advocates praise this move, saying they believe it's essential to protect the rights of U.S. residents.
With today's executive order, Governor Pritzker is once again standing for the very principles that make this a great country. The executive order will protect the rule of law. I believe that the commission will become an invaluable resource in America's quest for justice and durable human rights protections.
Now, this commission will be made up of a handful of folks, including Mary Meg McCarthy, who you saw there, the chair of the Illinois Human Rights Commission, and Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton. But this morning, the controversial Operation Midway Blitz frontman, Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bavino, said it's Pritzker and other elected officials in Illinois that are endangering his agents from carrying out their mission.
And I watched our agents. They operate with extreme professionalism. They do everything right. I've not seen one instance of something that was out of control or wrong. We're well used to this on the border. Remember, a lot of this very same thing takes place on the border, and it has for decades now. So we're well versed in it, and I think that we're on good, solid legal footing.
Now, this executive order parallels an initiative by former Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who announced on our show exclusively last night the ICE Accountability Project, a similar database of all these instances. And she says it will unmask or attempt to unmask some of these federal agents by listing their traits and who's driving what vehicle, so on and so forth. Sylvia?
All right, thanks for that, Paris. Well, today, the father detained by ICE will appear in immigration court. Ruben Torres Maldonado got picked up by ICE outside a Home Depot in Niles. He is a resident of 20 years, a painter, and he takes care of 2 children in Portage Park. His 16-year-old daughter, Ophelia, is undergoing aggressive cancer treatment. Lawmakers, including Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, said holding him serves no purpose. We're going to keep you updated on this story and if his petition is granted. We're still following a tragic story at this hour. Republican candidate for governor Darren Bailey says his son, daughter-in-law, and 2 grandchildren have been killed in a helicopter crash in Montana. The National Transportation Safety Board says that helicopter went down early this morning. It remains unclear what caused the crash. We do know that Bailey's son, Zachary, Kelsey Bailey, and their children, 12-year-old Veda Rose and 7-year-old Samuel, were aboard the helicopter. The Bailey campaign says a 3rd child, 10-year-old Finn, was not on the helicopter and is safe. Governor Pritzker released a statement saying, MK and I are devastated to learn of the tragic passing of Darren and Cindy Bailey's son, Zachary, daughter-in-law, Kelsey, and their 2 young children, Veda Rose and Samuel. Our prayers and deep condolences are with the Baileys in this time of grief. May the memories of their loved ones be a blessing. A multi-vehicle crash shut down an eastbound lane on I-80 in Mokina, causing major backups through the southern suburbs this morning. Illinois police say the crash happened near Wolf Road after a car hit a deer, setting off a chain reaction involving 5 different vehicles. Several people were taken to the hospital, though it still remains unclear just how many were injured. Lanes were shut down for hours, but they have since reopened. In Elgin, a bad crash involving a pickup truck and a freight train. Sky Fox was over the scene near South State Street this morning. You can see the debris and damage near a train crossing. Locust and Chicago streets were shut down as crews worked to clear that scene, and right now it's still unclear if anyone was injured. As we continue to mark Domestic Violence Awareness Month, local leaders are coming together to celebrate new legislation that removes guns from abusers. Today, Mayor Johnson, alongside advocates and survivors, gathered for a special breakfast to honor those who helped pass the Karina Law. This legislation requires law enforcement to remove firearms when a judge grants a restraining order filed by survivors. Johnson says that while there is still work that needs to be done, the city is making strides to support victims.
We have partnered with organizations across the city to provide counseling, legal services, and emergency relocation assistance. We launched the Safe Housing Pilot Program to create new pathways for survivors to access safe, stable housing and to have many more options outside of emergency shelters.
Johnson says 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men will experience partner violence at some point in their relationship. The man charged with child pornography and unauthorized video recordings is facing another lawsuit. 58-year-old Steve Weisberg is accused of secretly recording children and employees at Flavor Frenzy in Addison. This new lawsuit was filed by 11 former employees. Weisberg is facing 98 charges related to child pornography. We're going to have more on this latest coming up on the news at 4. Pope Leo is expanding his mission to bring together people of different faiths, holding a historic prayer session with the King of England. Stephanie Bennett has more from London.
It was a prayer service nearly 500 years in the making. King Charles III meeting with Pope Leo XIV on Thursday for a special ceremony. The first time an English king and a Catholic pope have prayed together since 1534. The year Henry VIII split with Rome and formed the Church of England.
A very symbolic, but very important, this bridge of faiths, which we know is part of the King's mantra.
This meeting carries huge spiritual significance since Charles is technically the head of the Church of England. But the solemnity is being overshadowed by new sex abuse allegations against Prince Andrew, which prompted the prince to give up his royal titles ahead of today's meeting.
To have that at the same time as this scandal, I think was complex.
And for Pope Leo, today's meeting is a continuation of his central mission so far, bringing together people of all faiths to help those less fortunate. He's made protecting civilians in war zones a main focus, speaking out against violence in Gaza, Ukraine, and other global hotspots. And that trend is expected to accelerate in the coming months.
So many who still suffer challenge us and invite us to re-examine our lifestyles, our priorities, and our overall way of living in today's world.
King Charles also approved an honorary knighthood for Pope Leo. He'll join the Order of the Bath later this year. In London, Stephanie Bennett, Fox 32 Chicago.
Much more to come on Fox 32 News at noon. The recent government shutdown has now become the second longest in history, and it doesn't appear to be ending anytime soon. Coming up, we're going to speak with a financial expert on the impact this shutdown is having not only on the markets, but also on consumers. And the shows will go on. Broadway musicians and the Broadway League have reached an agreement to avoid a strike.
At Post
The recent government shutdown has now become the second longest in history, and it doesn't appear that it's ending anytime soon. President Trump has reportedly told Democratic lawmakers he has no plans to meet with them until this shutdown is over. Essential government services that protect human life or property continue to work, but many are working without pay. The shutdown has also caused about 750,000 federal workers to be furloughed, and it's now threatening the SNAP, or Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, that 42 million Americans rely on. Officials are saying there won't be enough funding to pay for all of the November benefits. Joining us now to discuss this impact is financial expert Stephen Esposito with Yellowstone Wealth Management. Thanks for joining us, Stephen. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's start with what we've seen so far with the financial markets, not only with the shutdown, but with the tariffs, all encompassing. What kind of impact is this having?
Actually, in terms of the financial markets, it's had actually very little. Initially, the markets were concerned, obviously, and as you see today, we're hitting new highs in the market. We have been hitting new highs. So the market's going to be shaking it off at this point right now. We'll see going forward, but right now, it's really not affecting the markets at all.
Okay, so let's talk about consumers, because that's where it hits the most, right? We've heard about air traffic controllers. They're working without pay. There's supposed to be slowdowns at airports. Are we seeing an impact with prices on anything, including, loss of labor? A lot of people now not working. Where is the consumer feeling the effects of this government shutdown?
Interestingly enough, as they do surveys, the consumer is resiliently strong. That's come across some CEOs we've talked to, a corporation, even surprising them how resilient they are. They're seeing their 401ks and their portfolios hitting new highs in the market. So that's giving them, I think, a lot of confidence going forward. So we're not really seeing an impact, at least not now, to the consumer. We're hearing worries and concerns what might happen, but right now, not so much. And on the commodity side, on pricing, we're seeing commodities dropping. Look at energy. Energy's way down near the lowest level we've seen really the beginning of the pandemic. It's $61 a barrel, something like that. We're just below 60. So you're seeing it cheaper there. You're seeing various commodity prices coming down across the board. So ironically, consumers doing pretty well considering what's going on.
Well, and it appears, as I said, it's not going to end any time soon. How long before you think we start feeling it, everybody?
I don't know. There's usually a 6 to 9 month lag and things like that where you start to see it come through. We haven't seen it yet. We'll find out come holiday season. We're almost there. If we see an effect on that whatsoever, I mean, the tariffs we were told about haven't really had a big impact on pricing and inflation. You're not seeing it there either. So I'm not really sure. I'm hoping we can get through the holiday season and go into the new year without any impact. And we'll just have to take it one day at a time and do it accordingly.
And hope this will end sooner than we all expect. Okay, let's talk about student loan debt. So some good news this morning for a lot of student loan borrowers. The Trump administration has agreed to forgive some student loan debt. This is supposed to impact about 2.5 million borrowers. Tell us who they are and why all of a sudden are we seeing kind of a change in course?
I don't really know why, per se. It's a legal situation. It's developing as we speak, so we're not really giving you all the details on what's going on there. But if it does, in fact, happen, what will the impact be? Obviously, if it relieves student debt and it puts less of a burden on those 2.5 million people, that's actually good for the economy. That'll have less concern for them, the ability to spend more money and consume. So that would have a positive impact going forward on the economy. So net, it would be a positive.
Yeah. Okay, Stephen Esposito with Yellowstone Wealth Management. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, the FBI is releasing never-before-seen surveillance footage of a suspect who planted pipe bombs at the Democratic and Republican National Committee offices in Washington, D.C. This happened January 5th of 2021, a day before the Capitol riots. The agency says this is a renewed effort to capture the suspect, with a $500,000 reward still in place. The lights will stay on Broadway, at least for now. The union representing musicians reaching a tentative labor deal with producers. The American Federation of Musicians had threatened to strike if they didn't have a new contract by this morning. The 3-year deal includes wage increases and increased contributions to the health fund. Misty Copeland taking her final bow as American Ballet Theater's principal dancer last night. She was the first black woman principal in the history of the American Ballet Theater. The 43-year-old trailblazer is retiring from the company after 25 years. Actress and dancer Debbie Allen were on stage along with Oprah Winfrey. They gave her flowers. As you can see, Copeland was also joined by her young son and husband for that finale. She joined ABT in 2001 and became a soloist 6 years later. Let's take a live look outside as we look at what's a very beautiful picture, sunshine and clouds. Let's get the latest from Mike Kaplan when we come back.
All right, this morning, parts of the area had a frost advisory in effect. That's usually when temperatures on a localized level might get down to freezing right on the ground. But what we have tomorrow morning, and technically late tonight, in purple, which includes Will County, DuPage County, Northern Cook County, if you're in Palatine, Arlington Heights, Winnetka, if you're in Lindenhurst, if you're in Libertyville, Wonder Lake, and Wakanda, if you're in Batavia, even Naperville, Plano, Morris, how about Northwest Indiana, Crown Point, and Merrillville. These are areas that have a freeze warning. This is where the expectation is, might even see some upper 20s scattered about, and this would be a hard killing freeze as opposed to just a frost. Now in southern Cook County, if you're in Tinley Park, if you're in Stager, these are areas probably just going to see a frost. Likewise in Porter County, Indiana, Valparaiso, Portage, you might benefit from a little bit of wind off the lake there, which might prop your temperatures up. Point is, almost everywhere in Chicagoland, except right downtown and in the immediate metro area, we're going to be dealing with some really cold temperatures and likely at least a frost out there. In terms of actual low temperatures, here's what I'm thinking. I believe 35 will do it at O'Hare. We'll keep it right around 40 at the lakefront. That's why I don't think there's going to be a freeze there. 34 at Waukegan, but look at all these upper 20s scattered, especially in outlying areas, and even in parts of northwest Indiana. Could get to a 29 around Rensselaer and Wheatfield, and not much warmer as you go farther north. The day today is going to feature a lot of sunshine. Not as windy as the past couple of days. Still a little bit breezy, though. Northwest winds at 8 to 18. Yesterday's high was 50. Let's go for 53 today. A couple spots might get a little bit warmer, and we'll see mostly sunny skies with just a few clouds. 7-day forecast, it's mainly dry right on through the weekend. I think we'll hit 60 for the high Sunday. Looks like our next chance of rain arrives Tuesday into Wednesday, with temperatures running very close to normal for the end of October. Back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Millions of eggs have been pulled off the shelves over salmonella concerns. We'll have details on a month-old recall that continues to expand when we come back. And a new study